progress.
Okay, good morning everyone. Shalom Aleichem. Bruchim Habayim. We're continuing in Mishna Berura Daf Hashavua. We're learning Siman Samach Daled. Siman Samach Daled. Din Hatoya b'Kriyas Shema. The law is if someone makes a mistake in Krias Shema. Kara l'mafrei layas. If you read it out of order, backward, you're not yotze. What that means is that's the order of the psukim. Aval imhiktim parsha lechaverta. But if you change the order of the parshios, afal pisha in rashai, even though you're not allowed to, yatsa, you're yotze. Lefisha ena smucha labatar, because it is not next to each other in the Torah anyway. It's not like Shema is in V'aschanan, V'haya is in Eikev, V'yomer is in Shlach. It says in Mishna Berura lo yatsa, Shenemar V'hayu hadvarim ha'ela. If you say Shema out of order, you're not yotze. It says V'hayu, to have a yasa on you, it has to be as is. V'av parshas V'yomer, Kishetiknu rabbanan la'amra, Mishum mitzvah zechiras yitzias Mitzrayim, Gam kein ke'ein zeh tiknuha. So here the Mishna Berura seems to be saying, the third parsha is definitely the Rabbanan. The reason why the Rabbanan were masaking it is to be able to mekayim the mitzvah da'iraisa of Shema, of Zechiras Yitzias Mitzrayim. But when the Rabbanan were masaking the third parsha, they were masaking that you have to do it kahavayasin, you have to do it in order. Sivkat and Beis Hapsukim V'chol shekenim seres hateva. Certainly, if you do the words out of order. What does it mean that they're not next to each other in the Torah? What relevance does that? It's only rabbinic that it's arranged this way. Because anyway, by the way, the Vayomer comes before Shema and V'haya in the Torah. It's only a Takanas Chachamim that should be in this order. Like they say, Lama Kadma Shema L'V'hayim Shemaya, so you can be Mekabel the Omachas Shemayim first, and then you'll be Mekabel the Om Mitzvahs. Okay.
Why do we need a pasuk to say V'hayu Hadvarim V'Havyasin Yehu? It's pashut because it doesn't mean anything if you say it out of order. If you say all the psukim out of order, you're not saying the paragraph. You're not saying psukim, but doesn't mean anything.
Right. Apparently, the psukim, each pasuk by itself is intelligible. In other words, it has a coherent meaning. It doesn't have a meaning as a paragraph, but it has a meaning as psukim. So when it says kriya, mitzvah's kriya, who says the mitzvah's kriya is on paragraph? Maybe it's on psukim. So that's what we learn out from V'hayu. From V'hayu means it has to be a kriya of a segment also. Sipes, Kar?
If you say that, let's say, if we start on Vadas if you say don't try speaking before the first part, that makes perfect sense. I mean, one person wouldn't make sense, but if you say the last part spoken before the first part, it would make sense.
Okay, had it not been for V'hayu, then we would have thought that you would be able to say it sort of backward. Sifbeis, Kara Parsha V'Ta'aba. Let's say you read a parsha and you made a mistake. You made a mistake. Im Yoidea Hechan Ta'a. If you know where you made a mistake. What made a mistake means you skipped a word, let's say. So you're reading the parsha and you made a mistake. So if you know where you made the mistake, you read the whole thing. You left out a pasuk in the middle. You go back to the beginning of that pasuk, and you finish the parsha. If you don't know where you made the mistake, you go back to the beginning of the parsha. Says in Mishna Berura, V'taba Kasav Apri Chadash. It's only if you made a mistake. Aval behezid. But if you intentionally made an error, you have to go to the beginning of that parak. So this allowance that you could just go back to where you were up to, that's only if you accidentally made a mistake. But if you intentionally made a mistake, now why would a guy do that? He was trying to test out what the halacha would be. Whatever his cheshbon is, why he intentionally made a mistake. K'mayla inyan tefila kaman b'sim kuf yadalet siv zayin. V'amagen Avram lekaman b'sim kuf dalet siv katan vav mistapik b'zeh. The Magen Avram is mistapik if you do it intentionally. If you have to go back to the beginning, ayin shama v'simin samachei yizbar davar zeh b'Mishna Berura be'ezer Hashem yisbarach ayin sham b'siv katan aleph u'be'ber halacha. Pasuk echad. Now, what do you do? This is talking about if you skipped a pasuk. What if you skipped a word? V'mdileg teva achas. What if you skipped a word? By the way, we'll see. What if you skipped a letter? If you skip a letter, we already saw in Siman Samach Beis Sivkat and Aleph, you're not Yotzei Shema. So you have to go to the beginning of that pasuk. If you skipped a word, Yesh Oimrim Shabazai Dai Sheyachzol Oisat Teva Vigmar. Some say, oh, you could just go back to that word. Imhu b'makom shemaschal inyam ifnei atzmai. If it's where a new subject matter begins. Kagon shatileg mi pasuk. Let's say you said v'shinantam levanecha bum. You said v'shinantam levanecha bum b'shivtecha b'veisecha uvlechtecha v'adercha v'shach b'cha uvkumecha u'kshartam la'ois. So now you have to go back. Do you have to go back to do you have to go back to the word vishinantam, or could you just go back to the word vidibarta? Tevas vidibarta. Aval b'sefer Eliyahu Rabbah chriya bin kamishon tzach laso elam loisha oisei pasuk. The Eliyahu Rabbah is machriya from many rishonim. You always have to go back to the beginning of that pasuk. V'goymer haparsha, and finish the parsha. You have to finish the parsha. Te'im yoyma rak oisei pasuk, because if you just say that pasuk, so what's this going on? If you forgot a pasuk, you go back to the beginning of that pasuk and you finish the parsha. Why do you have to finish the parsha? Te'im yoyma rak oisei pasuk. If you just say that pasuk, so it will still be lemafreya, because you're saying that pasuk out of order. Havlei kriya lemafreya. V'afilim loy nizkar shadilek pasuk mi parsha rishayna rak ad achar she'amar gam parsha she'achreha. What if you remembered that you left out a pasuk in the first parsha after you already said the second parsha? So what do? Afilu hachi dai b'ma she'amar min hadilug ad seif parsha rishayna. Let's say you realized you forgot to say the pasuk vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veisecha uvlechtecha v'adercha v'shach b'cha uvkumecha. And let's say you didn't remember that until you're in Vayomer. Then you could go back to vishinantam levanecha. You finished the first parsha. You've already said the second parsha, and you go to the third parsha. But say there are parshios ain't a ma'akev. The order of the parshios is not ma'akev. L'roish ha-parsha. You go back to the beginning of the parsha. It says in Mishna Berura, machmas safek. So in other words, you read the whole first parsha, except you left out one pasuk in the middle. You go to the beginning of that pasuk, and then you finish the parsha. But then, the Mechaber says, if you don't know where you made the mistake, parsha. You go to the beginning of the parsha. Why do you go to the beginning? Because of safek, machmas safek. Afilu hayazeh b'parsha shniya. Eve, now, what if this happened in the second parsha? Because the second parsha, there are those who hold it's D'Rabbanan. So maybe we should say Safek D'Rabbanan L'Kula. Afilu hayazeh b'parsha shniya. V'afilu man da'amar parsha shniya D'Rabbanan. Even according to the opinion that the second parsha is D'Rabbanan. Why? The kivan da'asuk b'Krias Shema tzarich l'sakin ha'koyal. Since you're involved in Krias Shema, even though this part of Krias Shema may be D'Rabbanan, you have to fix the whole thing. Now why? Why don't I only have to fix what's D'Oraisa? The Bir Halacha, the Dirshu quotes, adds in Siman Tav Chaf Beis that since you're already Oisek in Krias Shema, since you already were Oisek in the Krias Parsha Rishayna Mid'Oraisa, you should fix the second Parsha and begin from the beginning of the second Parsha if you don't know what you're up to. Another interesting corollary would be, let's say you're not sure if you said Shema B'chlal. So maybe I only have to say, fine, Sabak Dairaisa L'chumra. So I'll say the first parsha. Do I have to say the second parsha also? The answer is, you have to say the second parsha. Because this is the tekana of Chazal, that each time you say it the way it's supposed to be. What if, Rabbi Isai, you said the first and you're only masupik if you said the second? You have to go back and say the first as well. Because whenever there's a takana to say the second, it's together with the first. By the way, it's similar to, let's say you're masupik if you benched. Do you say Hatoy v'ametiv? Birchas Hamazon is Dairaisa, Hatoy v'ametiv is D'Rabbanan. So if you're masupik if you benched, do you go back and say, you're not sure if you said Ritzei. Do you, okay, I know you have to bench again, but you say Hatoy v'ametiv, you do. You do. Vim ha'yizah b'parsha Rishayna. Okay. Now, you're not sure if you made a mistake. Or you're not sure where you made the mistake. Let's say you remember you said Shema b'kavana. Then you go back to v'ahavta, which is the first possible pasuk you may have left out. By the way, because if you were not mechavin for Baruch Shem, you have to go back and say it b'kavana. By the way, but just to point out, the Biur Halacha said that the din you have to go back and say Baruch Shem b'kavana is only if you didn't yet say v'ahavta. But if you skip v'ahavta and you didn't say Baruch Shem b'kavana, okay, then you would go back and say Baruch Shem b'kavana. Okay. If you're not sure if you said Shema b'kavana, then b'lav hachi chayzer. Then anyway, you have to go back to the beginning. Kivan shalai kara b'kavana, because if you're not sure if you said Shema b'kavana, have a kolai kara klal as a pasuk Shema. It's like not saying it at all. Mamela tzach likros kol zay haparsha, and mamela you're going to have to say this whole parsha shalai yeh kriya l'mafreya, so that the reading is not l'mafreya. Vikra ena b'lachash, you should read it softly. Ayam tima'at. You should read it quietly, or wait a little bit, so that it doesn't seem like you're saying Shema, Shema. Meaning, since you may have said Shema, why do you have to say Shema, the pasuk Shema, quietly? Because you might not have, because you may have actually said the pasuk Shema, and then it's going to sound like Shema, Shema. So you're going to go back to the beginning, but you're not going to say it out loud because you don't want it to sound like you're saying Shema, Shema twice. Okay? We will hold it over here. We'll continue tomorrow in Seif Gimel.
Recording stopped.